What would you do if the woman everyone mocked for asking the price of a $10 million car ended up paying for it in cash, right before their eyes? Imagine the faces of those who laughed, sneered, and poured champagne down her dress as she holds the keys to the car they said she could never afford. Stay tuned, because when the tables turn, some will lose everything, and the girl they called a nobody will be the one driving away in the car of their dreams. Sophia steps into the gleaming luxury car showroom, her worn sandals scuffing against the polished marble floor, the cool air brushing against her bare arms. The massive glass windows let in beams of sunlight that bounce off the sparkling car hoods, reflecting off the chrome and creating a dazzling, almost surreal glow. She pauses just inside the entrance, taking it all in. The pristine display of wealth, the immaculate floors, the employees in crisp uniforms standing by the million-dollar machines as if guarding treasures. Her simple cotton dress sways slightly as she moves deeper into the showroom, her eyes wide, her lips parted in a quiet gasp. A group of salespeople glance over, eyebrows arching, smirks forming as they take in her appearance. One of them, Brad, nudges his colleague with his elbow, whispering loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. "Lost, is she?" They snicker, casting sidelong glances at Sophia as she approaches a sleek, glossy black sports car. The car's curves are flawless, the paint so polished it mirrors the light like a black diamond. Sophia reaches out cautiously, fingertips just brushing the side mirror, marveling at the smooth, cold surface. "Hey!" Brad barks, his voice sharp and authoritative, making her jump back. "Don't touch that! You break it, you buy it." The laughter from his group crescendos, each one eyeing Sophia as though she's a stray cat that wandered into a jewelry store. Her cheeks flush, but she doesn't back away, keeping her gaze on the car, fascinated, captivated by its power and beauty. "Is there something you're looking for? Another salesperson?" Lisa asks, though the polite tone is undercut by her mocking smile. "This isn't exactly a car rental place, sweetheart." Sophia's lips part, struggling to find words, her fingers twisting the strap of her old, faded handbag. "I just wanted to know how much it costs," she says softly, her voice almost swallowed by the hum of the showroom. Brad scoffs, folding his arms, the expensive leather of his jacket creaking. That car, he sneers, nodding towards the beast of a machine that looms behind her. "More than you'll make in a lifetime. Try somewhere that sells bicycles." Another round of laughter erupts, sharp and biting, like shards of glass slicing through Sophia's composure. A wealthy customer, Camille, saunters over, draped in a designer dress that glitters like sequins under the lights, her diamond earrings catching the sun. She looks Sophia up and down, barely concealing her disdain. "Oh, bless your heart." Camille purrs, feigning sweetness. "Did someone tell you this was a thrift shop? Because that dress looks like it's barely holding together." Sophia stiffens, her hands clutching her bag tighter, her breath catching in her throat. Camille flips her hair over her shoulder, making a show of pointing to the car's price tag. $10 million, she announces, her voice ringing out like a triumphant bell. "But don't worry. Maybe you can save up for one of the hubcaps." The laughter crashes over Sophia relentlessly, suffocating, and the sound bounces off the marble and echoes in her ears. She can feel the heat creeping up her neck, the humiliation burning through her chest. Sophia swallows hard, refusing to let the tears brimming in her eyes spill over. She knows they're all watching, waiting for her to shrink, to back down, to run out of the showroom with her tail between her legs. Instead, she stands rooted to the spot, forcing herself to breathe, to focus, to stay upright. "Why don't you check out the used car lot down the road?" Brad quips, his lips curving into a smirk. "Might be more in your price range." Sophia glances back at the car, the sleek lines, the promise of freedom it represents. Her heart pounds with a stubborn resolve, a spark igniting in her chest despite the cruel laughter, despite the mocking glances. She takes a step forward, her hand brushing the hood again, lighter this time, almost reverent, and for a moment, just a fleeting moment, the laughter fades, the showroom noise dulls, and it's just her in the car, A dream materialized into steel and power. Let them laugh, she thinks, her pulse steadying, her jaw tightening. Let them underestimate me, because they have no idea what's about to happen. The laughter doesn't stop. It rolls through the showroom like a storm, echoing off the marble floors and glass walls, each snicker a dagger slicing through Sophia's composure. Camille takes a step closer, her heels clicking against the floor like a ticking clock, her diamond bracelet flashing under the lights as she crosses her arms, her eyes glinting with cruel amusement. You know, Camille purrs, her lips curving into a wicked smile. I could probably buy that dress right now and still have enough money left over to buy that car twice. The crowd chuckles, eyes darting to Sophia's dress, plain, wrinkled, a faded blue that looks painfully out of place against the polished, gleaming world of luxury. Sophia's cheeks burn, her fists clenching at her sides, her nails digging into her palms, the sting grounding her, keeping her from crumbling. Brad saunters forward, a clipboard in his hand, his jaw working as he fights back a grin. Look, sweetheart, he says, his voice loud, dripping with condescension. I don't know if you got lost or something, but we don't give out free rides here. This isn't a test drive for poor girls who want to pretend for a day. Laughter erupts again, louder this time, more vicious, more biting, and Sophia's breath comes in short, shallow bursts, her pulse a deafening roar in her ears. The air feels too thick, too heavy, pressing down on her, crushing her beneath the weight of their stares. You should see your face, Camille says, tossing her golden hair over her shoulder, her eyes gleaming as she pulls out her phone, raising it up, the camera lens pointed directly at Sophia. Oh, we should totally post this. She coos, her voice a syrupy sweet mockery. Girl walks into $1 million showroom, looking like she just rolled out of a thrift shop. Hashtag goals. The crowd laughs, the sound sharp and relentless. A chorus of mockery that echoes in Sophia's head. Each laugh another stab, another reminder that she doesn't belong here. Camille steps closer, her phone still raised, her eyes dancing with cruel delight as she circles Sophia like a predator playing with its prey. Come on, Camille says, her voice dripping with faux pity, her lips twisting into a smirk. Let's give everyone a close-up. Show them what a $10 million car looks like next to a 10-cent dress. The laughter swells, crashing over Sophia in waves, the sound bouncing off the walls, suffocating her, pressing in from all sides. Sophia's vision blurs, her heart pounding, her fist shaking as she stares straight ahead, refusing to look at the phone, refusing to give Camille the reaction she's so desperately hunting for. Oh, honey, Brad says, leaning against the car, his arms crossed, his grin widening. Are you gonna cry? Do you need a tissue? Or maybe you can sell that bag and get yourself some real clothes. Another round of laughter, louder this time, more vicious, more cruel, the sound a relentless yet pounding drumbeat that threatens to tear Sophia apart. Camille leans closer, her breath hot against Sophia's ear, her voice a low, venomous whisper. You don't belong here, she hisses, her eyes dark, her smile razor sharp. Girls like you don't even get to look at cars like this, let alone ask how much they cost. So, why don't you take your sad little bag and your ugly little dress and get out before you embarrass yourself even more? Camille pulls back, tossing her hair, her phone still raised, the screen flashing as she takes another picture, her laugh echoing through the showroom like a siren's wail. Sophia swallows, the taste of humiliation bitter and sharp on her tongue, her chest tight, her fists clenched, her nails biting so hard into her palms that she's sure they'll draw blood. But she doesn't move, doesn't run, doesn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. Instead, she takes a slow, deep breath, her gaze locking onto the car, the gleaming black machine that started it all. And in that moment, with the laughter still echoing, with Camille still snapping pictures, with Brad still sneering and smirking, Sophia lifts her chin, her eyes hard, her jaw tight, her heart pounding with a new, fierce resolve. Let them laugh, let them mock, because they have no idea who they're dealing with. Not yet. The laughter crescendos, rising higher, sharper, A cruel, relentless wave that crashes over Sophia like a tsunami, threatening to drag her under. Camille steps back, flipping her hair over her shoulder, her diamond bracelet catching the light, her lips curving into a wicked, triumphant grin. "Oh, come on," she says, her voice echoing through the showroom, each word dripping with venom. Someone get her a price list so she can frame it and remember the day she almost touched a car worth more than her entire life. The crowd roars, heads thrown back, champagne glasses raised, eyes flashing with delight as they drink in Sophia's humiliation like vultures circling a dying prey. Sophia stands there, rooted to the spot, her chest heaving, her fists clenched so tight her nails dig into her palms, leaving angry red crescents. Her vision blurs, the room spinning, the laughter pounding in her ears like a drum, like a war cry, like a relentless chant. "Seriously," Brad sneers, leaning against the hood of the car, his arms folded over his chest, his eyes glinting with malice. "Did you really think you could afford a car like this? I mean, come on. You probably don't even have enough money to pay for the air freshener." The laughter crashes again, louder this time, crueler, the sound a brutal, merciless storm that tears through Sophia, shredding her confidence, clawing at her dignity. Camille saunters closer, her heels clicking against the marble, her eyes locked onto Sophia's. A predator closing in on its prey. "Let's be real," Camille says, her voice a low, venomous purr as she reaches out, her manicured finger tracing a line down Sophia's dress. "This little number," Camille leans in, her breath hot against Sophia's ear, her lips curving into a smile so sharp it could cut glass. "I wouldn't even use it to wash my car." The crowd howls, phones rise, cameras flash, capturing every second, every tear brimming in Sophia's eyes, every tremble in her clenched fists, every crack in her composure. "Smile, sweetheart," Camille says, holding up her phone, the screen blinding, the flash a burst of white-hot light that sears into Sophia's eyes. "Let's get a picture of the girl who thought she could buy a car worth $10 million. The laughter intensifies, a pounding, deafening roar that fills the showroom, bounces off the walls, echoes through the glass windows, a vicious, unrelenting wave that threatens to drown Sophia where she stands. "Maybe she thought they were giving away free test drives," Brad quips, his grin widening, his eyes dark and gleaming with cruel delight. "Or maybe she's just here to pick up the crumbs we leave behind." Another round of laughter, sharper, harsher, each laugh a slap, each sneer a knife twisting deeper and deeper. Sophia swallows, her throat tight, her heart slamming against her ribs like a wild, trapped animal, her breaths coming in short, ragged bursts as she fights to hold herself together, to keep the tears from spilling, to keep her knees from buckling beneath her. Camille steps back, tossing her hair, her smile widening as she turns to the crowd, her voice carrying, her words a final, devastating blow. "Hey, everyone!" Camille shouts, her arms sweeping through the air, her eyes glinting as she gestures to Sophia, who stands there, frozen, drowning in humiliation. Next time you see her walking down the street in that little thrift store dress, make sure to ask her how it felt to almost afford a car that costs more than her entire life. The crowd erupts, the laughter a tidal wave that crashes over Sophia, suffocating, crushing, burying her beneath its weight. Phones rise, cameras flash, voices echo, and through it all, Sophia stands there, her fists clenched, her nails biting into her palms, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps as the world spins around her, the laughter ringing in her ears, the walls closing in, the ground threatening to crumble beneath her. But she doesn't move, doesn't run, doesn't cry. Instead, she lifts her chin, her jaw tight, her eyes burning, her heart pounding as she stares straight ahead, through the laughter, through the sneers, through the phones pointed at her like weapons. Let them laugh, let them take their pictures, because when the truth comes out, they're going to wish they had never even looked her way. The laughter still echoes in Sophia's ears, each cruel snicker a dagger plunging deeper, each mocking smile a brand against her skin. Camille tosses her hair, her eyes glinting as she struts back to the black sports car, her heels clicking against the marble like the ticking of a countdown. Well, Camille purrs, leaning against the hood, her red lips curving into a smug, victorious grin. Since you love this car so much, why don't you take a good, long look, because this is as close as you're ever going to get to driving it. The crowd laughs again, their voices a chorus of malice, phones still raised, flashes still blinding, a sea of vultures circling, feeding off the scraps of Sophia's dignity. Sophia swallows, her fists clench so tight her knuckles go white, her pulse a relentless drumbeat pounding in her ears. But before she can respond, the heavy glass doors swing open with a resounding crash, the sound like a gunshot silencing the laughter, freezing the room. The crowd turns, eyes widening, whispers rising as Michael strides in, his dark eyes blazing, his jaw clenched, his fists tight at his sides. The manager's presence is a storm rolling through the room, his suit perfectly pressed, his shoes striking the floor with each powerful step, his gaze slicing through the crowd until it locks onto Brad. Brad's smug grin falters, his shoulders stiffening, his face draining of color as Michael closes in, his dark eyes hard, unyielding, a predator stalking prey. "Brad," Michael says, his voice low, lethal, a blade wrapped in silk. "What exactly is going on here?" Brad laughs, but it's forced, shaky, his eyes darting around the room as he struggles to find his confidence. "Nothing. Boss," he says, his voice a nervous chuckle. "Just a little fun." "Fun," Michael repeats, his jaw ticking, his eyes flashing as he steps closer, his gaze zeroed in on Camille now, who shifts uncomfortably, her manicured nails tapping against the hood of the car. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you were humiliating one of our best clients." Camille's eyes widen, her mouth falling open, a strangled sound escaping her throat as she shakes her head, her diamond earrings swinging. "Client," she sputters, her voice thin, strained. Her Michael's eyes darken, his lips curving into a slow, dangerous smile as he turns to face Sophia, who stands there, her back straight, her eyes fierce, her chest heaving. "Yes," Michael says, his voice carrying, echoing through the showroom like a war drum. Her, Sophia Monroe, the woman who just wired $10 million to purchase that car. Gasps ripple through the crowd, champagne glasses freeze midair, eyes widening, jaws dropping as Michael's words slice through the air, each one a bullet, each syllable a hammer blow. Camille's face drains of color, her knees wobbling, her hands flying to her mouth as she stares at Sophia, her eyes wild, disbelieving. No, she breathes, her voice cracking, her nails digging into her palms. "No, that can't be." "Oh, but it is," Michael says, his voice a low, deadly purr as he crosses his arms, his eyes narrowing. "And as of last week, Sophia Monroe also purchased the luxury tower downtown, the one your husband has been desperately trying to rent for his new restaurant." Camille's breath hitches, her knees buckling, a strangled sob escaping her throat as she clutches the hood of the car, her diamond bracelet catching the light, her heart slamming against her ribs like a sledgehammer. What she chokes out, her eyes wide, her lips trembling. "No, that's not possible." "Oh, it's more than possible," Michael says, his smile widening, his eyes flashing as he steps closer, his gaze cutting through Camille like a blade. "Because the woman you just humiliated, the woman you called a beggar, the woman you laughed at and mocked, she now owns every single lease, every single contract, every single property your husband's business is banking on." Camille collapses against the hood, her breath coming in short, shallow gasps, her chest heaving, her nails scraping against the paint as the room spins around her, the world crashing down. "No," Camille whispers, tears spilling over, her mascara streaking down her cheeks like black rivers, her diamond bracelet glinting like a noose around her wrist. "No, this can't be happening." "Oh, but it is," Michael says, his gaze sweeping the room, taking in every pale face, every gaping mouth, every stunned, wide-eyed stare. "And now, the girl you tried to destroy holds all the power, and she's about to use it." Camille sobs, her shoulders shaking, her eyes brimming with tears as she sinks to the floor. The once untouchable queen, now nothing but a crumpled, broken doll lying at Sophia's feet. And as the crowd stares, as the whispers rise, as the walls close in around Camille, Sophia stands tall, her fists unclenched, her jaw set, her eyes blazing with the fire of a woman who just took back everything they tried to strip away. Because the girl in the simple dress just became the queen who now owns them all. Camille remains crumpled against the hood of the car, her manicured nails scraping against the glossy surface. Her breaths coming in shallow, ragged bursts as the reality of Sophia's power crashes over her like a tidal wave. The crowd is silent, eyes wide, jaws slack, breaths held as they watch Sophia take a step forward, her heels clicking against the marble like a countdown, each step deliberate, each breath steady, each second a beat in a merciless drum roll. Sophia's eyes lock onto Camille, her gaze hard, unyielding, a queen staring down at a fallen, broken pretender. "You know," Sophia says, her voice low, soft, slicing through the silence like a blade wrapped in silk. "When you humiliated me in front of everyone, when you laughed and called me a beggar, did it ever occur to you that the girl you tried to tear down might be the one holding all the strings?" Camille's chest heaves, her eyes wide, her lips trembling as she shakes her head, her golden hair falling over her face, her diamond bracelet now nothing more than a shackle on a crumbling queen. "Sophia," she chokes out, her voice breaking, a tear sliding down her cheek. "I didn't know. I didn't. Oh." "But you did," Sophia says, her jaw tightening, her eyes flashing as she steps closer, the air around her heavy, electric, charged with a power that burns through the room like wildfire. "You knew exactly what you were doing when you poured champagne down my dress, when you laughed and said I was a nobody, when you tried to make me feel small in a room full of people who were just as cruel as you." Camille sobs, her shoulders shaking, her breaths coming in short, sharp gasps as she clutches the hood of the car, her nails digging into the metal as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. "Please," Camille whispers, her eyes brimming with tears, her face crumpling as she shakes her head, her voice breaking. "Please, Sophia, I'm begging you." Begging Sophia's lips curve into a slow, dangerous smile, her eyes dark, glinting like a blade as she leans down, her face inches from Camille's, her breath warm against her cheek. "You mean the way I begged you to stop when you were laughing at me? The way I begged you to show a shred of decency when you called me a beggar? The way I begged you to see me as a person instead of something you could step on?" Camille sobs harder, her knees buckling, her hands shaking as she sinks lower. The once glamorous queen, now a crumpled, sobbing mess against the hood of a car she could never afford. Sophia straightens, her jaw clenched, her spine straight, her eyes blazing as she turns her gaze to the crowd, her voice rising, her presence expanding, filling the room with a power that is raw, fierce, unrelenting. "You all laughed," Sophia says, her voice echoing, reverberating through the showroom like a war drum, each word a bullet, each syllable a knife. "You all watched as they tore me apart. You all joined in as they mocked me, humiliated me, tried to strip away every ounce of dignity I had left." The crowd shifts, eyes dropping, faces flushing, champagne glasses trembling as shame crashes over them, suffocating, crushing, a wave of guilt that drowns them in the very laughter they once unleashed. "But what you didn't know," Sophia says, her voice dropping to a low, venomous purr, her eyes dark, blazing, a storm rolling in, "is that the girl you all called a nobody just became the woman who owns the ground you're standing on?" Gasps ripple through the room, jaws dropping, eyes widening, whispers rising like a dark, suffocating fog as Sophia's words sink in. Each one a knife, each one a hammer, driving the nails into their collective coffin. "You see," Sophia continues, her voice cold, calm, each word a strike against the silence. "Not only did I just buy that car in cash, but as of this morning, I also acquired the property management firm that handles every lease in this building." Camille's eyes go impossibly wider, her breaths coming in short, shallow gasps as she stares up at Sophia, her lips parting, a strangled, desperate sound escaping her throat. "No," Camille breathes, shaking her head, her nails digging into the car hood, her shoulders trembling. "No, that's not—" "Oh, but it is," Sophia says, her smile widening, her eyes gleaming as she steps back, her arms spreading wide, her gaze sweeping the crowd, taking in every stunned, horrified face. "Because as of now, I own everything you all think you're entitled to. The cars, the leases, the loans, every single contract your businesses depend on." The crowd is silent, the air thick, heavy, suffocating. The walls closing in as Sophia's words crash over them like a tidal wave, each one a blow, each one a knife slicing through the illusion of power they once wielded over her. "So," Sophia says, her voice dropping to a low, deadly whisper, her gaze locking onto Camille, her lips curving into a slow, merciless smile. "Tell me again how much my dress is worth, because the girl you called a beggar just bought the car you were bragging about. And now, she owns you too." Camille collapses against the hood, her hands flying to her face, her shoulders shaking as sobs rack her body, her breath coming in short, broken gasps as the room spins around her, the world crashing down. The crown she once wore now, nothing but a pile of ashes at Sophia's feet. And as the crowd stares, as the whispers rise, as the walls close in around them, Sophia stands tall, her head high, her chest heaving, her fists unclenched, the girl they tried to destroy, now the queen who just took back everything they tried to strip away. Because the girl they called a nobody just became the woman who holds the power to crush them all. Camille's sobs echo through the showroom, each strangled gasp a haunting, hollow sound that bounces off the glass walls and polished floors. The crowd stands frozen, their faces pale, their eyes wide, each of them caught in the fallout of Sophia's revelation. Sophia stands tall, her spine straight, her chin lifted, her gaze icy as she surveys the room. The girl they all laughed at now, the woman holding the strings, the queen they never saw coming. Camille clutches the hood of the car, her fingers trembling, her nails digging into the glossy paint, her chest heaving as she stares up at Sophia, her eyes wild, desperate, terrified. "Sophia," Camille chokes out, her voice breaking, her mascara-streaked face a mask of ruin. "Please, I didn't know. I was just what Sophia snaps, her voice sharp, each word a bullet, each syllable a blade. "Having fun, laughing at the girl you thought was beneath you, calling me a beggar while you strutted around in your diamonds, pretending you owned the world." Camille's lips tremble, her breaths coming in short, shallow bursts, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for someone, anyone, to save her. But the crowd has already taken a step back, their eyes downcast, their shoulders hunched, their champagne glasses trembling in their hands as they watch the queen fall. "You were the queen," Sophia continues, her voice low, lethal, each word a hammer driving nails into Camille's coffin. "You ruled this place. You owned everyone's attention. You held their respect." But now, Sophia takes a slow, deliberate step forward, her heels striking the marble with a cold, echoing click, her eyes locked onto Camille's, her gaze burning. "Now, you're just a girl crying on the floor in a dress that costs more than your dignity." Camille's sobs intensify, her shoulders shaking, her breath hitching as the walls close in, the air heavy, suffocating, pressing down on her like a crushing weight. "Please," Camille whispers, her hands flying to her face, her fingers clutching her hair, her voice breaking. "Please, Sophia, I'm begging you." Begging Sophia's lips curve into a slow, dangerous smile, her eyes dark, flashing with a fire that burns through the room, a storm sweeping over them all. "You mean the way I begged you to stop when you humiliated me in front of everyone? The way I begged you to show me a shred of decency when you poured champagne down my dress?" Camille's head shakes violently, her hands shaking, her breaths coming in sharp, shallow gasps as the truth crashes down on her, drowning her, burying her beneath the very weight of her own cruelty. "Oh, but we're not done," Sophia says, her voice rising, her gaze sweeping the room, her presence a storm, a tidal wave, a force that swallows them whole. "Brad," she says, her eyes locking onto the salesman who once stood so tall, so smug, so untouchable. Now, he stands there, his face ashen, his jaw clenched, his eyes wide as he swallows hard, sweat beading along his hairline. "Do you know what I do to people who try to destroy me?" Sophia asks, her voice dropping to a low, venomous purr, her gaze pinning him in place, a knife against his throat. "I don't just take them down. I take everything they think they own." Brad's breath shudders, his shoulders slumping, his fists clenching as he shakes his head, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. "Please," he stammers, his voice shaking, his eyes pleading. "Please, Sophia. I was just having fun," Sophia snaps, her eyes flashing, her jaw tightening. "Laughing at the girl you thought was a nobody, calling me a beggar, telling me to leave because I didn't look like you. Well, now you're going to leave." Brad's knees buckle, a strangled sound escaping his throat as he collapses against the wall, his hands shaking, his breath coming in short, shallow gasps. "Leave," he echoes, his voice thin, weak, terrified. "You're fired," Sophia says, her voice cold, unrelenting, her eyes dark as storm clouds, her jaw clenched, effective immediately. "Pack your things and get out." The crowd gasps, eyes widening, jaws dropping, champagne glasses slipping from hands, crystal shattering against the marble floor like the sound of dreams breaking, illusions shattering, kingdoms falling. Brad stumbles back, his face crumpling, his hands flying to his hair, his breaths coming in sharp, shallow gasps as he stares at Sophia, the girl he once laughed at now, the woman who just took everything from him. Camille sobs harder, her shoulders shaking, her head bowed, her face buried in her hands, her diamond bracelet dangling from her wrist like a shackle. "Oh," and Camille Sophia says, her voice soft, almost gentle, a whisper wrapped in barbed wire as she takes one last step forward, her heels clicking against the marble, each step a nail driving deeper into Camille's coffin. Camille lifts her head, her eyes red-rimmed, her face streaked with mascara, her lips trembling as she stares up at Sophia, the woman she tried to destroy now standing over her like a queen on a throne of broken glass. "The building you and your husband were trying to rent for that little restaurant you were bragging about." Sophia's lips curve into a slow, dangerous smile, her eyes dark, her voice a soft, lethal purr. "I just canceled the lease. Effective immediately." Camille's scream echoes through the showroom, a raw, guttural sound that bounces off the walls, reverberates through the glass, and crashes over them all like a tidal wave. And as the crowd watches, as the whispers rise, as the walls close in around them, Sophia stands tall, her head high, her chest heaving, her fists unclenched, the girl they tried to crush, now the queen who just took back everything they stole, and left them with nothing but the ashes of their own cruelty. The room is a sea of stunned, guilty faces, the silence heavy, suffocating, the air thick with the weight of Camille's sobs and Brad's shattered pride. The queen has fallen, the false king dethroned, and the once laughing crowd now stands frozen, eyes downcast, hearts pounding, each of them praying Sophia's wrath won't turn on them next. But Sophia isn't looking at them. Her gaze scans the room, searching, seeking, until her eyes land on Clara, the timid saleswoman standing in the corner, her hands clasped in front of her, her lips pressed tight, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. Clara, the one person who hadn't joined in the laughter. Clara, the one who had quietly handed Sophia a tissue when champagne drenched her dress, her soft voice trembling as she whispered, "Don't let them get to you." Sophia's heart pounds, her chest tightening as she steps forward, her heels clicking against the marble, each step deliberate, each step carrying her closer to the girl who had shown her kindness when everyone else reveled in her humiliation. The crowd parts like the Red Sea, eyes following her, breaths held, jaws slack as Sophia stops in front of Clara, her gaze softening, her fists unclenching, her pulse slowing as she takes a deep, steadying breath. "Clara," Sophia says, her voice firm but warm, each word carrying through the room like a queen's decree. Clara's breath hitches, her cheeks flushing, her hands trembling as she stares up at Sophia, her lower lip quivering. "Yes, Miss Monroe," she stammers, her voice small, her shoulders tense as though bracing for the blow. "You've worked here how long?" Sophia asks, her eyes holding Clara's, her expression softening, her heart pounding. 3 years, Clara says, her voice barely a whisper, her eyes darting nervously around the room, catching sight of Brad slumped against the wall, his head in his hands, his shoulders shaking. 3 years, Sophia repeats, her lips curving into a slow, gentle smile, her chest tightening as she takes Clara's hands in hers, holding them tight, grounding her, anchoring her. "And in all that time, did anyone ever thank you? Did anyone ever tell you that you mattered, that you deserve better?" Clara's eyes welled with tears, her chin quivering, her shoulders shaking as she shook her head, a strangled sob escaping her throat. "No," she whispers, her voice breaking, her eyes dropping to the floor, tears spilling over, sliding down her cheeks like rivers of relief and heartache and disbelief. "Well, I'm telling you now," Sophia says, her voice a fierce, unyielding promise, her eyes blazing as she lifts Clara's chin, forcing her to meet her gaze. "You deserve more than what they gave you. You deserve more than being treated like dirt by people like Brad and Camille. You deserve to be seen." Clara sobs, her knees buckling, her shoulders shaking, her breath coming in sharp, ragged bursts as she clutches Sophia's hands, her fingers digging into Sophia's palms, her tears soaking the front of her blouse. "Which is why," Sophia continues, her voice rising, her chest heaving, her gaze sweeping the room, taking in every stunned, guilty face, effective immediately. "You are no longer a saleswoman at this showroom." Gasps ripple through the crowd, eyes widening, whispers rising, jaws dropping, Clara's breath catching in her throat, her hands shaking, her heart slamming against her ribs like a wild, caged bird. "You are now the new general manager of the entire dealership," Sophia announces, her voice carrying through the room like a war drum, each word a thunderclap, each syllable a hammer blow, with a salary increase, full benefits, and a brand new car of your choice, paid in full by me. The crowd erupts, some clapping, some staring in stunned silence, some murmuring among themselves, each of them exchanging wide-eyed, disbelieving glances as Clara collapses against Sophia, her sobs muffled against Sophia's shoulder, her fingers clutching the back of Sophia's dress as though afraid that if she lets go, this dream will slip through her fingers like sand. "Thank you," Clara chokes out, her voice breaking, her shoulders shaking, her breath coming in short, shallow gasps. "I don't know how to. I can't." "You don't have to," Sophia whispers, her voice soft, her hands stroking Clara's hair, her heart swelling, her chest aching as she holds the girl who once held her up when she was drowning. "You don't have to say anything. Just know that you were the only one who saw me when everyone else was too busy laughing." The crowd watches, eyes shining, some with tears, some with shame, some with regret, as Sophia pulls back, her hands cupping Clara's face, her thumbs brushing away her tears. "You saw me," Sophia says, her voice a fierce, unbreakable promise. Her eyes locked onto Clara's, her jaw tight. "Now, the whole world is going to see you." And as the crowd erupts into applause, as Clara sinks to her knees, sobbing, as Sophia stands tall, her chest heaving, her fists unclenched, the girl they called a nobody just crowned her first queen. And the world finally sees the power of kindness rewarded. The applause roars through the showroom, a thunderous, relentless wave crashing over them all, echoing off the glass walls, vibrating through the marble floors. Clara remains on her knees, her shoulders shaking, her hands pressed against her mouth, her eyes brimming with tears as the crowd claps, some in awe, some in shame, some still reeling from the spectacle they just witnessed. Sophia steps forward, her heels clicking against the marble like a drumbeat. Each step deliberate, each breath heavy, each second a countdown to the words that are about to shatter the room. The spotlight swings to her, its harsh white beam illuminating her like a queen on a throne of broken glass. Her simple dress still stained with champagne, the dark streaks a badge of honor, a mark of war. The crowd falls silent, breaths held, eyes wide, hearts pounding as Sophia raises her chin, her eyes blazing, her jaw set, her chest heaving as she looks over them. The people who mocked her, belittled her, tried to strip her of her dignity one sneer at a time. "You all think you know me," Sophia says, her voice ringing out, strong, unyielding, each word a hammer striking down, each syllable a nail driven into the coffin of their cruelty. "You looked at my dress, my shoes, my bag. You looked at the surface and decided that was all there was to see. You looked at me and saw a nobody, a girl who didn't belong, a girl you could crush without a second thought." The crowd shifts, uneasy, eyes dropping, champagne glasses trembling, some setting their drinks down as if the weight is suddenly too much to bear. "You called me a beggar," Sophia continues, her voice rising, each word sharper, stronger, slicing through the air like a blade. "You told me to get out. You told me I wasn't good enough to be here. You poured champagne down my dress and laughed as I stood there, humiliated, drenched, broken." Her gaze locks onto Camille, who is still slumped against the car, her mascara-streaked face buried in her hands, her shoulders shaking, her breath coming in sharp, shallow gasps. "You thought you could tear me down," Sophia says, her eyes narrowing, her jaw clenching. "You thought you could strip away my dignity, my worth, my power. You thought that by laughing at me, by mocking me, by calling me a nobody, you could make me disappear." Camille sobs, her hands clutching her hair, her nails digging into her scalp, her breath shuddering, her knees pressing against the cold marble, the queen brought to her knees by the girl she tried to destroy. "But you were wrong," Sophia says, her voice dropping to a low, lethal murmur, her eyes dark, her jaw tight. "Because the girl you all tried to crush is still standing. The girl you laughed at is still here. And the girl you called a nobody just bought the car you bragged about. In cash." Gasps ripple through the crowd, eyes widening, jaws dropping, the air thick, heavy, suffocating as the weight of Sophia's words crashes over them, slamming into their chests like a tidal wave. "But that's not all," Sophia says, her lips curving into a slow, dangerous smile, her eyes flashing, her fists unclenching, her pulse pounding. "Because the girl you called a nobody just became the woman who owns this entire building." The crowd erupts into frantic whispers, heads turning, eyes darting, voices rising, a dark, suffocating fog of shock, disbelief, horror. "Oh, and that lease your husband was so desperate to secure," Sophia says, her eyes locking onto Camille, her voice a venomous purr, each word a knife, each syllable a bullet. "It's gone, effective immediately." Camille's scream echoes through the showroom, raw, guttural, a haunting, hollow sound that bounces off the walls, reverberates through the glass, crashing over them all like a tsunami. "You see," Sophia continues, her voice rising, her eyes sweeping the room, her gaze hard as steel. "Power isn't about what you wear or how much money you flash. Power isn't about laughing at people who have less than you. Power isn't about tearing people down to make yourself feel bigger." The crowd watches, breathless, eyes locked onto her, hearts pounding, pulses racing as Sophia takes a deep, steadying breath, her chest heaving, her jaw set. "Real power," Sophia says, her voice fierce, unyielding. "A queen's decree is about how you rise when the world tries to crush you. Real power is about standing tall when everyone wants to see you fall. Real power is about looking your enemy in the eye and saying, 'You don't own me, you never did, and you never will.'" Camille sobs, her body shaking, her knees pressed against the floor, her shoulders hunched as the world she built crumbles to dust around her. So, the next time you look at someone and decide they're a nobody because of what they're wearing, Sophia says, her voice dropping to a low, lethal whisper, her gaze boring into Camille's. Remember this moment. Remember how quickly the tables can turn, because the girl you called a beggar just became the queen you'll bow to. The room is silent, the air thick, heavy, suffocating. Each breath a struggle, each heartbeat a deafening drumbeat as Sophia stands tall, her fists unclenched, her head high, her eyes blazing. And tonight, the girl in the simple dress just became the queen who reclaimed her throne and reminded them all what real power truly looks like. The room is a graveyard of shattered egos, the echoes of Sophia's words hanging heavy in the air like storm clouds ready to burst. Camille remains crumpled against the hood of the car, her hands clutching her hair, her diamond bracelet dangling like a noose around her wrist, her breath coming in short, ragged gasps as reality crashes over her like a tidal wave. The crowd is frozen, eyes wide, jaws slack, some clutching their glasses so tight their knuckles go white, others exchanging glances, whispers, nervous glances darting to Sophia, the girl they once laughed at, now the woman who just took everything from them. Sophia stands in the center of the room, her spine straight, her chin high, her eyes blazing, her fists unclenched, the air around her crackling with power. Clara steps forward, her hands still trembling, her eyes wide, glistening, her breaths coming in shallow, shaky bursts as she stares at Sophia, her lips parting, her voice a fragile, say disbelieving whisper. "Sophia," Clara says, her voice breaking, her hands flying to her mouth, her chest heaving. "I can't believe. You just—" "I did," Sophia says, her voice soft, fierce, each word a gentle, firm reassurance, each syllable a balm to Clara's wounded heart. "I did it for you." Clara sobs, her knees buckling, her shoulders shaking as she sinks to the floor, her hands clutching the hem of Sophia's dress, her tears soaking into the fabric, her heart pounding against her ribs. Why Clara chokes out, her face buried against Sophia's dress, her fingers twisting the fabric, her breath coming in short, ragged bursts. "Why would you do this for me?" Sophia kneels down, her hands cupping Clara's face, her thumbs brushing away her tears, her eyes soft, warm, shining with the kind of fierce, unbreakable love that only those who have been broken can give. "Because you were the only one who saw me," Sophia whispers, her voice trembling, her chest heaving, her breath catching. "When everyone else laughed, when everyone else mocked, when everyone else tried to tear me down, you were the only one who saw me. You gave me a tissue. You gave me a kind word. You gave me hope when I was drowning." Clara sobs harder, her shoulders shaking, her hands flying to her mouth, her eyes brimming with tears as she stares at Sophia. The girl she once thought was a nobody, now the queen who just lifted her out of the ashes. "And now," Sophia says, her voice firm, strong, unyielding, her eyes blazing, "you're going to shine. You're going to take this opportunity and rise. You're going to show them all what they missed, because the girl they overlooked just became the woman who's going to run this place." Clara throws her arms around Sophia, her sobs echoing through the room, the sound a haunting, beautiful, cathartic refrain that bounces off the walls, reverberates through the glass, fills the air with the sound of redemption. The crowd watches, some with tears in their eyes, some with shame etched into their faces, some with their heads bowed, their shoulders slumped, each of them weighed down by the crushing realization that they could have been the kind one, that they could have been the ones Sophia just crowned. Brad stands by the wall, his back pressed against the glass, his eyes dark, hollow, and empty as he stares at Sophia. The girl he once humiliated, now the woman who holds his fate in her hands. Camille stumbles forward, her heels scraping against the marble, her mascara-streaked face a mask of ruin, her lips trembling, her breaths coming in short, shallow gasps as she reaches out, her fingers shaking, her eyes wide. "Desperate! Sophia!" Camille chokes out, her voice a broken, guttural rasp, her hands clutching the air, her knees wobbling. "Please, I was wrong. I was stupid. I was cruel. I'll do anything. Just please, don't take everything away." Sophia rises to her feet, her gaze hardening, her jaw clenching, her eyes flashing as she steps forward, her heels clicking against the marble like a countdown. Each step a nail in Camille's coffin. Anything Sophia echoes, her voice a low, deadly purr, her eyes narrowing, her lips curving into a slow, dangerous smile. You mean the way I begged you to stop? The way I begged you to see me as a person? The way I begged you to have a shred of humanity while you poured champagne down my dress? Camille sobs, her knees buckling, her hands flying to her mouth, her shoulders shaking as she sinks to the floor, her diamond bracelet snapping, beads scattering across the marble like fallen stars. Please, Camille whispers, her voice breaking, her eyes wild, bloodshot, terrified. Please, Sophia, I'll do anything. I'll apologize. Oh, you will, Sophia says, her voice rising, her jaw set, her eyes blazing. You'll apologize to Clara. You'll apologize to every single person you humiliated and stepped on and crushed beneath your diamond-studded heels. You'll make amends, you'll make reparations, and you'll learn what it feels like to be the girl everyone laughs at. Camille sobs harder, her nails scraping against the floor, her chest heaving, her breaths coming in short, sharp bursts as Sophia steps back, her chin high, her shoulders squared, her chest heaving, her heart pounding, her pulse roaring in her ears. And when you're done, Sophia says, her voice cold, calm, unrelenting, her gaze dark, her fists unclenched. You'll remember this moment. You'll remember how quickly the tables can turn. You'll remember what it feels like to be the girl on the floor. Camille collapses, her face pressed against the cold marble, her sobs echoing through the room like a haunting, broken lullaby. And as the crowd watches, as the whispers rise, as the air thickens with the scent of guilt and shame and the stench of fallen power, Sophia turns, her heels clicking against the floor, her head high, her chest heaving, the girl they once called a nobody, now the queen who just took back her crown. Because tonight, the girl they tried to crush just lifted another up and left her enemies drowning in the ashes of their own cruelty. Sophia walks away, her heels striking the marble like a relentless drumbeat. Each step a resounding echo that bounces off the walls, reverberates through the glass, and crashes over the crowd like a storm. The showroom is a sea of stunned faces, eyes wide, jaws slack, breaths held as they watch the girl they once called a nobody march away like a queen who just reclaimed her throne. Clara stands behind, her hands still shaking, her eyes glistening with tears, her heart pounding like a caged bird as she watches Sophia go, the woman who saw her when everyone else looked away, the woman who lifted her when everyone else tried to bury her. Camille remains crumpled on the floor, her once perfect dress now stained with tears and the shattered remnants of her diamond bracelet, her shoulders hunched, her head bowed, her breaths coming in short, jagged sobs as the world she built on cruelty crumbles around her. Brad leans against the glass wall, his eyes hollow, his face pale, his jaw clenched as he stares at the ground, his fists trembling, his breath sharp and shallow. The man who once laughed now, the man who just lost everything. And as the whispers rise, as the walls close in, as the air thickens with the stench of regret and shame, Sophia keeps walking, her head high, her spine straight, her jaw tight, her eyes burning with the fire of a woman who just took back everything they tried to strip away. Outside, the night air is cool against her skin, the city lights twinkling like fallen stars, the street stretching out before her like a kingdom she just conquered. The black sports car she bought gleams beneath the street lamp, the same car they said she couldn't afford, the same car they said she had no right to touch, the same car that now belongs to her and no one else. Sophia steps forward, her heels clicking against the pavement, her hand reaching out, her fingers grazing the cool, smooth surface of the car's hood, her chest rising and falling, her heart pounding, her pulse a deafening roar in her ears. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath, lets it out slowly, the air misting in front of her like a ghost, the scent of victory thick and sweet and intoxicating. And when she opens her eyes, Her reflection stares back at her. The girl in the simple dress. The girl they laughed at. The girl they tried to crush. But now, she's more than a girl. Now, she's a queen. The wind picks up, a gust sweeping through the street, rustling her hair, tugging at the hem of her dress. The dress they mocked, the dress they sneered at, the dress they said was worthless. Sophia smiles, slow and dangerous, her eyes dark, her jaw set, her chin lifting as she looks up at the building she now owns, the kingdom she just reclaimed, the empire she built from the ashes of their cruelty. And as the wind howls, as the city lights glitter, as the world watches and waits, the screen fades to black, the final line appearing in bold, unrelenting white letters. The girl in the simple dress just became the queen in the driver's seat, and she's never looking back.